the snuffing attempts that have come from the administration. We kept free of that, so our stuff probably becomes more and more political as a result.
All right, a look now at Hollywood and politics and the questions raised by Mr. Redford. Michael Medved is a nationally syndicated radio talk show host and a veteran film critic. His talk show emphasizes the intersection of politics and pop culture, so he's the perfect guest for today. Also with us is documentary film producer David Bossie. David has produced multiple political documentaries, including Celsius 4111, which refuted the content of Michael Moore's film Fahrenheit 9/11. Michael Medved, let me start with you. I'm curious what your thoughts are about the stop that we just listened to from Robert Redford and the efforts, as he sees it, from the administration to sort of quash political dissidents in this country.
Well, it truly does indicate that a lot of Hollywood celebrities, including, I'm afraid, Mr. Redford, live on a different planet from the rest of us. I mean, the left has hardly been silent in the United States. And when he talks about efforts by the administration to snuff out opposition, for goodness sake, the Democrats just won a congressional election. And throughout the entire history of the Bush administration, there has been nothing but dissent. We've heard it and heard it and heard it, and it's been consistent from Hollywood. The idea that, oh gosh, we need to speak out in Hollywood because Americans are losing their right to dissent is simply delusional.
David Bossie, go ahead, jump in.
I think that Michael's right on. Look, Robert Redford's the one at Sundance, I will have to say, that doesn't have any dissent. He doesn't allow any films that are not ultra-left-wing activist and propaganda in their nature. We have submitted, and look, if he doesn't like my films, that's fine, but we've submitted several conservative films, and none of them get accepted. And one of them, by the way, won the Liberty Film Festival, which I think Michael's involved with, and it won the best feature film, which makes it a quality film, and they didn't even accept it amongst the hundreds of films that they wanted to view because they don't like the political content. So they're the ones who don't walk the walk. They hate America, and they show it every day.
David, you're a filmmaker, so you have to go out and raise money to get your films made. Where do you think most of the money is coming from for these kind of films that he's talking about?
Yeah, let me tell you, as a left-wing movie maker, as a liberal movie maker, you can go out and get huge grants by some of these big-pocketed George Soros-type liberal donors. On the conservative side, we stretch every day to try to find your average American who's willing to donate $25, $50, $100 to our productions, and that's really what we've done. Is we've found several 100,000 people across the country who want to support the president, who want to support America, who want to support the war on terror, because we are in a world war, and people recognize that, and they want to make sure that the American people have the truth on film as well as refuting what the left says.
Well, Michael, go ahead.
If I can jump in here, I'm not only concerned about the funding for these documentaries, because after all, the characteristic of most of these left-wing documentaries, aside from An Inconvenient Truth, Al Gore's film, and Michael Moore's movies, most of them nobody sees. I'm more concerned about the left-wing funding of mainstream movies, which the Hollywood press never reports on. For instance, last year, major Oscar contenders, including Syriana, North Country, including Good Night and Good Luck, and this year An Inconvenient Truth, were all funded largely by an activist left-wing organization called Participant Pictures. Now, people ought to know that.
Well, Michael,
These are not done as works of entertainment, they're done as works of advocacy.
All right, but when you look at this, one of the most important questions might be, what is the impact of these movies on society? You talk about the fact that they're not widely seen, many of them, but do they in some way sort of trickle down and permeate the thinking of people in this country?
Well, sure. I mean, Fahrenheit 9/11 did terrible damage to the American psyche. It's the most successful documentary ever made, and it created a fertile ground for all these conspiracy cuckoos who believe that the Illuminati or the Bilderbergers or someone like that was behind 9/11. Even though Michael Moore didn't set that up himself and say that, he certainly planted that idea. And I'm terribly worried when you hear that 40% of Americans, according to the Zogby poll, think that 9/11 was an inside job. That's a terrible problem for the United States of America.
You know, David, when you look at old Hollywood, David Bossie, the John Waynes and the Jimmy Stewarts who fought for their country, where are those actors today? Why isn't there more sort of equal weight or even just a little bit of diversity in the political opinions of most of Hollywood, it would seem?
Well, I think that they're afraid for their jobs. I know people in Hollywood that are afraid to speak their minds. that are conservative. Look, there are some outspoken conservatives. The producers and creators of the very popular Fox show 24 are conservatives. They're outspoken in Hollywood as conservatives, but they're at the top of their field. They have the ability to do that. There's a lot of actors out there, men and women, who are conservatives that don't talk about it, at least in openly in public, because they're afraid of getting their next picture taken away from them. So I think that there's always that concern. I know there's a lot of actors who won't admit to that, but I really think that is true.
Well, one of the problems, Martha, that people talk about is that every time there's a prominent Republican in Hollywood, he ends up leaving the business and getting elected governor of California. What can you do?
That is one of the inherent problems of becoming governor of California, I guess. Michael Medved, thank you very much. David Bossie, interesting conversation. Good to have both of you with us today.
Thank you.
Straight ahead here on the live desk, Oprah Winfrey is at the top of her game and at the top of a very exclusive list. Steve Forbes is joining us with